This is WLRN News. I'm Tom Hudson. South Florida's economy is at a crossroads. So says a new report out today from Florida International University. This analysis is just the latest in a series of studies from various institutions looking at prosperity here. So what are these crossroads? We spoke via Skype with the co-author of the report, Richard Florida, professor at the University of Toronto and a visiting fellow at FIU.
It'll either be okay, which means if we do nothing, if Miami continues to kind of grow without a blueprint, immigrants will still come. Sun and fun will still attract tourists, but the growth will not generate a kind of prosperity that I think Miamians would want for reasons. One, we will be vexed by not using the assets we have to their full potential. We will not ensure that we grow our technology, our entrepreneurial community. The report digs deeply into that. We will not use our creative capacities, arts, culture, design. We'll not make the most of our connections to the world economy. But worse than that, I think we will be really damaged by what I call a crisis of our success. The old model of growing by sprawling, by building new suburbs, by depending on the car to get around, by becoming a more expansive, if you will, spread out metropolitan area, it just ceases to work. Congestion gets really tremendous. Traffic builds up. We know that. Anyone who drives around the region knows this. And so we really do need a new growth model. Really, we've got to think about, increasing density. How do we live denser? How do we make sure our suburbs are retrofitted for a new kind of growth?
Through the history, Miami's leading asset has been its geography. And you talk a little bit about geography in your report. You note that Miami, greater Miami, and this point of gathering together South Florida from the metropolitan area of Miami all the way up through the Palm Beaches. Does the area behave like one region, however?
No. And I think,
and is that an asset or a liability for the growth?
Liability.
Yeah.
I think a real defining feature of Greater Miami and South Florida has been balkanization. We don't talk to one another. We don't cooperate, and in many cases it may be worse. Don't get me wrong. It's not good anywhere. I think that one of our main messages is that this kind of regional cooperation within the greater Miami metro, that means Miami and Fort Lauderdale and Dade and Broward and Palm Beach County, but beyond that, this super region, this mega region, we need to figure out mechanisms for regional cooperation.
One of your key recommendations is to promote the region's tolerance and diversity strengths. We've seen that shaken and really tested in the past few days because of the Orlando massacre. What does that tell us about the road ahead and what you see as a big asset and what has been a characteristic of Miami, certainly, which is this melting pot of cultures, of ethnicities, of languages, of backgrounds and religions?
Well, I think the attack on Orlando was really an attack on tolerance and diversity. And we don't know the complete motivations of this fellow yet, but clearly, whatever miffed him about ethnicity, Latin night, the gay community, it was because Orlando is a beacon of openness and tolerance. And Orlando ranks as one of the top 20 most open, tolerant, and diverse metropolitan areas in the United States. Whether we look at the percentage of residents who are foreign born, whether we look at acceptance of the LGBT community. Now, Miami is even a little higher than Orlando. So I think the attack was really attack on tolerance and diversity. And what I think this means for South Florida is South Florida has to regalvanize itself and say, we are strong, we are resilient, this is who we are. We are multi-ethnic, we do welcome immigrants. We have been so long welcoming to the gay and lesbian community. And that is what makes us stronger and better as an economy.
Richard Florida, University of Toronto and Florida International University with us. Thanks so much, Professor.
Thanks so much. It's always great being with you, Tom.
And this is WLRN News. I'm Tom Hudson.